Hi guys, my name is Tony Maritato. I'm a licensed physical therapist, and in this video, I get the privilege of interviewing a gentleman by the name of Russ. He has a channel, Russ is Right, and this is one of the most fascinating stories coming from a person who's had a total knee replacement. Now, Russ's story is so compelling because he didn't have the typical outcome. He was expecting to be up and walking in 6 weeks and doing everything he wanted in 12 weeks. But what's great about Russ is that he took the time to share his story, document the story that he went through. 14 months after the total knee replacement, Russ is still working to improve range of motion, improve strength, reduce pain, reduce stiffness. So guys, in this video, check it out. Russ and I get to talk for over 30 minutes about his experiences as somebody who's had a knee replacement, and he shares such valuable information that anybody planning on having a knee replacement or who already has had a knee replacement would really benefit from hearing. So guys, check it out. And by the end of it, please take a minute, go check out Russ's YouTube channel, Russ is Right. I will post a link to that YouTube channel in the description of this video and pin it in the first comment. Guys, I hope you enjoy the interview as much as I did. I'll catch you on the next video. Yeah, good to meet you. So my goal today was just, I actually want to genuinely, I want to hear your story. I followed some of the videos. I saw you had the manipulation and you're using the jazz device and a couple other things. But I just think it's always so interesting. Like, I'm a physical therapist. I've been a physical therapist since 2006. I love to hear your story as an individual who's been through it.
Okay.
And I think there's other people, obviously, who would benefit from hearing your story. So if I could just ask you a couple questions over the next 15, 20 minutes or so and just, listen. I mean, that's the goal. And I think the people in the group would greatly appreciate it as well.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Awesome.
I have a long story. The question is how much of the long story do you want?
Well, let's start with this. First, Russ, tell me about yourself, not you as a total knee replacement patient, but just you as a human being.
Okay.
Like, you have a YouTube channel. Why did you start the YouTube channel? What are your hobbies? What do you like?
Okay. Well, obviously I did not think that the YouTube channel would turn into a knee replacement channel.
Yeah.
But it's kind of turned into a knee replacement channel.
And that's an interesting point. Like, the surgery becomes almost all consuming. It influences every part of life, but keep going.
So anyways, my background is quite varied. I used to be in forensics work. I was a former evidence technician. I worked for several law enforcement agencies out in San Diego area. So I'd worked with San Diego PD, Chula Vista PD. I was employed by the district attorney's office down there. So I was an evidence tech and went to quite a few crime scenes and things like that.
Wow.
And eventually, from using the camera to do my work, I've always had interest in cameras, and I just took a big interest in that. So when we moved from Chicago to San Diego and then moved back to Chicago, I eventually ended up doing weddings and all sorts of stuff in forensic audio, forensic photography, and videography. And so over the years, my knees just kind of kept getting worse, and it was basically because of Taekwondo. I think a lot of us have sports injuries
Sure.
that cause that. So I would say about 16 years ago, I had my left knee scoped out. And then 11 years ago, I had my right knee scoped out. And these torn meniscuses, I think, happened probably when I was around 15 years old. I think I've been living with it that whole time. So so my surgeon, took care of those two things. And of course, I knew eventually that the knee replacement would have to happen. So I ended up closing I opened a photography school too.
Okay.
In that time. And I ended up closing the photography school just before going in for the knee replacement. I figured that this was going to take a lot of my effort, and I couldn't do teaching and that. And I just said, I think that's the end of the school. So we closed the school. I went in the next month for the knee replacement, and now it's been a little over 14 and a half months, and I'm still dealing with it.
Yeah.
But I'm better. I'm better now. But believe me, if you watch the early Russ is Right videos, you'll see my outlook was really poor on it. I just said, this was the worst thing I ever did. I would never do this again. I have probably another knee to do down the road. I'm not doing it.
Right.
And I learned a lot over that time. And I think the YouTube channel helped me a lot, just to be able to put some thoughts down on how I was thinking at the time. And
Yeah.
surprisingly, so many people started watching this thing that I think they said that they liked the fact that there's somebody else out there like them. They've seen too many things where, you know, everything's perfect. 2-3 months later, I'm great, you know, and that's not them.
Yeah.
So here's me, who's been suffering through, I think I had 80 physical therapy sessions. Okay, so quite a few.
Yeah.
And 2 manipulations. And so just talking about that helped me, but I found that I actually kind of liked the fact that others were being helped by me. I even said to myself, you know, I said, God, why are you making me go through all this? Why am I going through this pain? And I kind of think at this point, maybe I had to do that so I can help other people with this channel. So that's
a great outlook. I mean, it's a great way to turn, you know, lemons into lemonade. Let me ask you, going back, now that you've experienced what you've experienced. So you said, I'm getting better.
Yeah.
My question to you, and I think a lot of people are interested in, would you say you're better now, today, let's say over the last week on average, than you were a week before you had surgery?
I was better before I had the surgery.
Better than you are now.
If you watched me walk,
right?
Okay, you would never think that I had any problems with my knee.
Right.
It's for short term of walking back and forth. You know, even when I was at the photography school, I'm walking back and forth and stuff. No one would ever think I had a knee problem.
Right.
But if you were to watch me walk 2 blocks, you know I'd have a problem.
Right.
So in that sense, you know, some people have asked me, are you glad you had this done? I says, I'm not at that point yet.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I'm getting better. I'm glad that I'm at 120 degrees. My extension is about 8 to 10, something like that. So I'm not walking perfectly, but I did walk a lot better before the surgery. I think if my extension was better, I'd have a better chance.
Yeah. So then let me ask you, before surgery, what was your mindset? What were you thinking going into surgery? You know, again, knowing now what you didn't know then, like, were you prepared? Did you know what you were going to be facing? I mean, what was the expectation?
Yeah, I think I went into it not knowing enough.
Yeah.
I really think that's the case. I didn't do a whole lot of walking for over 8 years while I had the school.
Right.
My end of walking was to get up, get into my car, walk to the inside of the school, sit down, stand up and talk, sit down, and then walk back to the car. I'm done for the day.
Right.
So do that for 8 years. My knee really didn't have enough exercise.
Okay.
And I think had I had the knowledge that I should have worked my leg better, maybe I'd be able to have a better chance to succeed. So, and talking to my surgeon too, he was telling me, of course, that, you know, many patients are finishing 2 to 3 months. We had actually planned that my right knee would be replaced 3 months or so later.
Right.
But after all the issues I've had, he asked me, so are you going to do the right? I go, absolutely no way. Not until this left knee is perfect am I doing the right. The right is not as bad as the left. So we know that we can hold off on it. And he even said that you might not need to do this for the right knee. So, but my feeling was, let's just do it and get it over with. I just want to be okay for both knees. But now, after issues I've had, I'm seriously rethinking that. And I'm thinking maybe I'll hold off as long as I can before I do that right knee.
Now, let me ask you, did you have any infections? Did you have any post-surgical complications?
No.
Like,
people have always been saying, you know, the doctor did a bad job. Look at all the problems you've had. I said, you know, there's nothing that the doctor did wrong. It's just my body is not reacting to it. So
Right.
I don't blame anybody. I have a video I says it's called "Who Do I Sue?"
Oh,
And I don't sue anybody because it's nobody's fault. It's not the therapist's fault. It's not the doctor's fault. It's just that my scar tissues grow so quickly that I couldn't get the flexion. I couldn't get the extension. My quads were probably not strong enough to start before we even began.
right.
So when you add all those things together, I says, yeah, I'm a recipe for disaster.
You know what? I mean, I hate to say it, like as a therapist, coming from my perspective, right? And being fortunate enough to work with several hundred individuals who have had knee replacements, some do amazing. I mean, the story I always think about is this guy. He walked into my clinic, said, I want to schedule for my knee replacement rehab. I said, okay, great. When's your surgery gonna be? And he said, I just had it yesterday. And I mean, he's walking with no cane, and it was just phenomenal. I could not believe this person had just had a knee replacement yesterday. And then on the flip side, I posted a video today of a young lady. She was doing the agility ladder with me in the clinic, and she works her heart out. She's in my clinic 5 days a week. And she's still dealing with good days and bad days. You know, Wednesday, she had better range of motion than she had today. And she does everything right, you know, and so I try to convey, I'm like, look, it's very rare that I see somebody who genuinely did something wrong, whether it's the surgeon who did something wrong, the patient who did something wrong. It's not.
Yeah,
It's just we don't have control over those things,
right.
and we don't necessarily have any way to know how the person is going to turn out. You could have the other knee done and do amazing. We have
Yeah.
no idea,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and so I had a lady with me in the clinic this morning, different lady. She's had some long-term chronic back pain issues. She's had some frustration. She's been in some of my videos recently, and her surgery was September 30th. She still comes in and will tear up because the pain is so intense. She's so frustrated. She's so upset. But what's hard for the surgeon, I know the surgeon, he did a great job. She's got 120 degrees of flexion, full extension. She's doing stairs. She did an elliptical trainer today for 10 minutes. No problem. But she's still frustrated because of the pain. And you know, these are factors that we just don't have a good way to manage or control.
Right.
So you coming from an active background, doing all the stuff that you had done before, you know, I think you bring up some really good points, which is, hey, look, maybe I'm not as healthy as I thought I was. Maybe my body's not ready for this procedure, and it's a major procedure, a lot of blood loss, a lot of, you know, frustration, sleepless nights.
Yep. Had all that.
Yeah. And so, you know, what's so great for you is that you've been able to keep this disposition, even in those challenging times. You've been able to look at it and say, okay, I've got an outlet. I'm going to put this stuff out there. I'm going to connect with other people who are, you know, just as frustrated as me. And it does. I think bringing that voice from you, somebody who's been in the trenches, means a lot to the other people that are out there, because we tend to only hear the success stories.
Right.
You know, we tend to only hear those people that 3 weeks out, they're doing great and they're full range of motion and they're returning to work at 6 weeks.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that can benefit from hearing from someone else who's also struggling through it. You know, it's been over 14 months now for me, and I'm at 120, but I will say that, you know, when the COVID-19 stuff happened around, well, I think about March, something like that. I
Right.
stopped my physical therapy, but I'd already done 80 sessions. And we had hit 130 degrees, which is what I got under the MUAs. Both times hit 130 and 0.
You got to 130 during the manipulation.
Right, but not after.
Right.
Not after, because you're hurting. You know, once
Right.
you're awake, you're gonna hurt. And so after the first time I went in, I was in the 70s, low 70s. After about a month, we said we got to go in and do this. So we did it, and I hit, I think, around the 90, low
So
90.
the first manipulation was about a month after surgery.
Right, a little after a month or so. And so a month later, I'm still in the 90s. And so I, had my doctor's appointment, and it was actually me who brought up, what if we did this thing again?
Yeah.
And he said, you want to do that? I go, would help me? And he says, probably would. I says, then we're doing it. So we did it again. That would have been the 5th time I was in the OR with him, considering
And
all the scoping and everything.
let me ask you this, because I think this is something that gets missed a lot. So in the manipulation, the surgeon was able to get you to 130.
Yes, and we have photos of it too.
Right. The day after the manipulation, you probably went to physical therapy.
I went to physical therapy like 3 or 4 hours after the manipulation.
What was the range then?
90.
Okay. So now I'm going to ask you this for your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
There is no physical way scar tissue could have formed in
no
4 hours.
Yeah, no way.
Right. And so you said to me, and these are the kinds of conversations that I think are really important between therapist and patient. You're not my patient. I'm not, but I think it's interesting. You said my body lays down scar tissue very quickly.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily the case. I don't know. Maybe
Not
that's
that
a
quick.
component of it. But you lost that range in hours.
Yeah.
And I see this consistently. And so my feeling is, okay, let's stop everything we think we know. I don't know anything. I'm coming to this, you're in Taekwondo. I did martial arts forever. Like, go back, put on your white belt and go back in as a novice. And you say, well, it doesn't make sense. I lost 30 degrees of range of motion, 40 degrees in a couple hours. Why? You said it hurts. It's swollen. It's sore. There's trauma to the joint.
Yeah.
I would make the argument it probably takes days before you're actually limited by scar tissue.
Yeah.
I think you lose that range super fast. So I think there's a reflexive response. I think there's a neurologic response to the pain, to the soreness, to the swelling that limits the range of motion. No matter how much you want to push, your body says, this is not happening. Yeah. And it's not actually scar tissue that's limiting, because we take the pain away by putting you under anesthesia, we get full range of motion.
Right.
So I think factors come into play here that nobody's discussing. Reflexive pain response.
I think part of it was the pain in the quads, because I didn't have that kind of pain until after the MUA, and that's because they're pushing you hard and fast, and so they're stressing that thing.
Right.
So I get a lot of comments in my own videos, people asking about the MUA, because I have my first MUA that I did. I think that's been hit a lot of times. A lot of people have seen that. And I mentioned in there that I would never do this again. It was the worst decision of my life. And they don't watch the other videos, so they don't really know where I'm at this point. So they ask me, how are you doing now? And then, I kind of say, well, if you want to watch the last 70 videos, you can see me. But really, I tell them it was my quad muscles that hurt right afterwards. And so you add that pain on top of the knee pain,
right?
You're not moving anywhere because the pain is stopping you. So, and I think the biggest fear, I just did an MUA video recently. I think it came out last night, actually, that said, you're going to have pain, but you're not going to have pain while you're at the MUA. You're not going to feel anything because they're knocking you out.
Yeah.
But we have this fear that it's going to hurt, because we're already fearful already, because we're hurting already. We don't want more of that. So I try to encourage people to tell them, you got to get it done. And the pain won't be what you think it will be, but you will get new pain, and that's probably quads.
Right.
So that'll go for about a week and a half, and that happened twice to me. But once that's gone and you keep working at it, you're going to get the range. And don't expect to get the range right away, because you're not going to get it. I mean, some people do, I'm sure, but guys like me, we don't. So I kept going at it. The second time we did it at 130, I hit about 100 degrees afterward. Okay. And then after several months, we finally got me to 130 under screaming. Right. So if you push me to the point of screaming, I could hit 130, but on my own, I was pulling back about 117. So today I'm doing about 120 on my own. I don't really scream on anything. I don't feel the pain anymore too, by the way.
Now, see, that is another interesting component. And the way I describe it to patients, now I've never been in your shoes, so I can't even pretend that I know what you're feeling,
Right.
but I try to create some sort of connection. So I say, like, my wrist. So when I flex my wrist, I try to bend my wrist. I don't feel pain, but I'm limited. I don't have more bend. I
Right.
feel pull across the front of the wrist, which would be comparable to the front of the knee, and it's limited. Now, I think if I progressively worked and coming out of martial arts, Taekwondo, I'm sure your flexibility improved from when you started Taekwondo after a year of doing Taekwondo. The idea is that as we progressively work that tissue, it will increase, but there's never really a point of the post-surgical pain that somebody after a knee replacement has. And what's so interesting about your case is so much of the data is 12 weeks. If you don't get your range of motion in 12 weeks, you're done. No, like, we're humans. Our human body is always adapting. If that was the case, yoga would never help increase range of motion through any joint in your body, right? We can always adapt. It's a different mindset. I'm not stretching post-surgical tissue anymore. Now I'm just stretching to increase range of motion in the knee, in the hip, in the ankle, like, just for performance, health, movement. And that's where I think you're a great example of that, is because it's the persistence and the consistency. You never quit. You never gave up. Even if you had bumps in the road,
Yeah.
you always came back to it. And now you're at 120, I think you said, and it's not painful,
No.
but you're continuing to gain that range of motion.
I consider pain two folds. Okay. There's surgery pain,
Mm-hmm.
and then what I call PT pain.
Yeah,
When you guys are pushing us and we're screaming and yelling. Okay. There's therapy pain. Okay.
sure.
I'm not even at any of those. What I feel on a daily basis now, after 14 and a half or so months, my knee is still stiff every day. I can't just immediately like get up and start doing things. I can feel everything. So I call it a nuisance now.
Yeah.
It's not a pain, but it's a nuisance. I can't bend very quick. I can't do things very quickly. So, but it's not the kind of pain that I'm used to and I was a very high tolerant pain person.
Sure.
Okay. To the point where I don't even like taking pain medication. I did most of my stuff without the pain medication. And I think that was a mistake. I think what I should have done was taken more pain medication so they could have pushed me harder.
Right.
Maybe that would have been better, but I didn't have anyone to drive me to physical therapy. Luckily, It was my left leg. So with no narcotics or anything in me, I can legally drive. So I drove myself to physical therapy, but because of that, I didn't take any painkillers. So I have to wonder if I had more, if I took more, oxycodone, more of it, would that have been better? I don't know. We even tried doing a double dose of that. My doctor says, try 2. Well, that almost knocked me out. That's a little too much.
Yeah.
So I think it's the consistency of taking it maybe would have helped. But no, I could withstand a lot of pain.
Right.
But the knee pain was the worst I've ever felt. I don't think I knew pain until we did this knee.
Wow. So looking at somebody who's sitting here watching this thinking, do I have a knee replacement? How do I decide when it's time to have a knee replacement? Let's start with that question. If you were going to give any kind of advice to the person who's sitting there saying, how do I know when it's time?
I'm a little different than most, okay? Because I really never wanted to go in. I don't think any of us really want to go and do it. Okay?
Yeah.
And I did mine based on convenience, not so much because it was bone against bone so bad.
Sure.
My doctor actually said, you're not 100% bone against bone. I says, but the reason I wasn't is because for 8 years I was riding a scooter. So I says, my quality of life is dropping here. I've spent 8 years on this scooter. How many more years do you want me to spend on this thing?
What do you mean a scooter?
I had a mobility scooter.
Okay.
So like when I do my photography classes and I take them out on field trips, we're walking for 3 hours. I can't do that. There's no way.
Right.
So I would ride the scooter while my students are walking around and taking photos and things.
Gotcha.
So I said to him, I says, if you're waiting for me to be 100% bone against bone, you could be waiting another 8 years because I'm just going to jump on the scooter and that's not stressing anything out. It's never going to get to the bone against bone, but I don't want to live on a scooter.
Yeah.
So he said that because you're diminished life quality, I will do the replacement, because I had gone to see him, I think maybe 5 years earlier, and says, maybe we should do this. And he says, you're not there yet.
Right.
So I go there again, and he says, you're not there yet. I says, well, I'm never going to be there, but I want to start walking. I want to get off of this scooter and do things like normal people. And so he said, we'll do it. And so that's why he says, when on my right leg, he says, that's not quite yet there. Are you sure you want to do it? I says, if we're going to do it, let's just get it all done with. But after thinking now, I'm thinking, yeah, okay, we're going to wait on that one.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, I'm not the typical person who's had, such pain that they have to do this thing. I could have held off if I wanted to, but I just didn't want to be stuck on a scooter to do things all the time.
Sure.
So.
And then what would you tell that person sitting here in terms of how to prepare? Like, I've got ideas outside of the physical aspect of how you prepare yourself for something like this, but what would you say? What do you wish you had prepared more, and not just exercise, but social support system, activities to keep you busy?
Right. I think I've learned a lot since having this procedure and hearing from my own viewers asking me questions. Here's what I tell them. And you're right. Yeah, there's some physical things. Had I done more exercise beforehand, that would have been good. And they always ask, how do you do that when you're hurting? Of course, right? If I had more leg strength, that would have been good. I think I listened too much about the ideal situations that in 2 months, 3 months, I would be done. That's how I thought it would be. And you need to research out that some cases aren't like that. So you have to have your head ready in case it doesn't happen. I mean, we all hope that it happens well for you, but in case it doesn't, be prepared. I tell them, you've got to get things together. You've got to get, even like getting a toilet seat, having a walker ready for yourself, having people behind you to help you. My wife wasn't helping me. I don't think I could do this.
Right.
I mean, getting your food, stripping down and taking a shower. You have to wrap your knee with cellophane so it doesn't get wet.
Right.
I can't do that while I'm hurting. There's a lot of stuff that you can't do, that you need a support group. And I didn't think I would go through depression, but I did.
Yeah.
I think depression was a huge thing. And I've heard from a lot of other patients saying the same thing, that they were very depressed. You need to seek that help out, and too many of us, I think, just, cover and say, I'm going to deal with this on my own. I don't think so. I think you need a support group. I think the YouTube channel really helped me because it gave me a way to voice out what I was thinking at the time.
Right.
And had I kept that all to myself, I think I'd be just as depressed as everybody else typically is. So I think a lot of them have said, you're always so upbeat, you're always laughing about things. And some of them don't like that, I don't think, because they're hurting and this guy's laughing. Sure. I go, you have to have a sense of humor, otherwise you go crazy, with all the things that happen to you. So that kind of prep, I think, is important. Getting a support group prep, and equipment. You need some equipment. Get that before you go in, because you're going to need it right after you get out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think purpose, I think it comes down to finding some purpose beyond yourself. I see it when I face challenges in my personal life. If I have a purpose, if I have something that I just absolutely have to get out and do, yes, there's going to be times that you just can't do it. But at least you have that motivation, that something that gets you out of the chair and gets you moving. And it could be a journal that you keep. It could be a blog. It could be a YouTube channel. It could be whatever. I just always try to encourage patients when I have the opportunity, which I don't often, but when I have somebody in the clinic ahead of time, before surgery, we work on the physical, but by far, most of what we do is the mental, getting ready for the emotional challenges, getting ready for those dips, getting ready for that 3 a.m. You're done. There's nothing left in the tank. All the positive energy is gone, and you just break down and you have your cry and you get it out, and knowing that those things are coming. And If they don't, awesome, amazing, like wonderful, but you prepare for the worst and you hope for the best,
Right.
you know,
There's days too that, people say, well, you're almost done at this point. But, I was doing a video a couple of days ago, and I just released it. I had to stop that video 3 times. I couldn't go through it because I was tearing up.
yeah,
Thinking back about the things I've gone through, thinking back about the people that I've seen in physical therapy that suffered through all the things too. Right now, I'm feeling a little emotional about it. It's
right.
just something that, unless you go through it, I guess you don't understand it. And I think a lot of the patients have that emotion is just there. You got to let it out somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So the support is important. You need to have something. I had another person ask me. He says, I'm by myself. Do I need anybody to be there? I says, you have to get somebody to be there, because I don't think they realize what things they're going to go through.
Right.
And I'm sometimes a little graphic. Maybe it's my law enforcement background, having gone to homicides and autopsies and everything. Graphically, I said, to me, a knee replacement is an amputation of your leg without them taking the skin off of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So when people tell me it's not a big deal, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
That's major surgery. I mean, it's not open heart surgery, okay, but it's major surgery. You're gonna feel pain.
Right.
So it's you have to be prepared for that. And I think a lot of us aren't.
Yeah.
We can handle it, but we can't. It's hard.
And there's a certain component. I mean, I still see, in the group, like my Facebook group, I see people all the time who just absolutely refuse to watch a video before the surgery. And
Right.
I understand. I do. I get it.
You don't want to see it.
Yeah. But on the flip side, you got to look at, and I always say this too. I'm like, imagine I was in a car accident. Imagine I fractured my femur. I fractured my tibia. I split the whole knee open down to the bone. And then they sewed me up, and an hour after they said, okay, let's get up and walk.
They're walking.
Like, it's such a different perspective, but that's essentially what's happened, and so I don't know. I mean, I just try to convey to people the best I can. I'm like, I've been in this 20 years. I've seen a lot. I've been, fortunate to work with so many people, and I'm still like, I don't know. I know other people will tell you they have an answer. They don't know that they don't know. That's the reality. The reality is the body is far too complex. The internal systems, the redundancies, everything. We do the best we can. Your goal, as the person who had the knee replacement, you said to get out and walk and to live life and to thrive and to do the things that you wanted to do that you couldn't do before. Did it happen on the time frame you expected? Clearly not. But,
No.
you absolutely will get there. Now, I do have a question for you, and we'll wrap up with this. Have you considered, because I think this is just would be such a phenomenal opportunity. Have you considered doing, and maybe you are, online photography classes specifically for individuals who have had a knee replacement, who are stuck at home, who are looking for something to keep them occupied?
I have not done that. I will say this, before Zoom became such a big normal thing for all of us because of the pandemic, I tried to do some Zoom things with students when I had the school. I know that some of them come from a distance to come to my school.
Right.
We could Zoom it. Nobody wanted to do it. I don't think they knew what it was, quite frankly. Today, if I said, hey, you need help, contact me, we'll do it on Zoom, I think they'd understand that now. So I hadn't thought about it specifically for knee replacement people. But I'm not opposed to it. Let's put it that way, because I'm not teaching, in a school environment anymore. I'm kind of on my own at this point.
Let me put that idea in your head, because even coming from me, so we'll talk about my background another time. But I come from a fine arts graphic design background. That's what I was supposed to do. I wasn't supposed to be a physical therapist. But there are so many things that I've just been searching for and looking for, from like right now I'm on a Logitech webcam, but I've got a Canon 80D behind me with a 10 to 18 millimeter lens. And, you know, bringing your knowledge and your perspective to that specific community, specifically people who have had knee replacements, who are stuck at their home, whether they're going to do photos on their phone or they're going to do it on a camera, of the stuff that's just sitting around them, but just something to keep them occupied. You have that connection with both their frustrations with their knee and can bring in the knowledge of photography so that they can, you know, do things and create things and be productive, even if they're stuck in the chair.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge market.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to convert people who aren't used to Zoom. Like in therapy, you know, when we went and we shut down in March, all the therapists wanted their patients to automatically jump on Zoom. Well, nobody wanted to do that because they were used to in person.
Right.
But like you said, I mean, Zoom and so many other platforms have penetrated deep enough into society where I absolutely think I'm going to pitch it to my group and just say, hey, this guy might be doing a photography class specific for people with knee replacements, just to give you something to occupy that time. And when you're done and you're rehabbed and everything's back to normal, you're going to have a brand new skill set that could carry you into the future.
Well, let me throw a shameless plug as well.
Do it.
For those who have been watching my channel that are not knee replacement people, I've always kind of felt a little bit bad for them because the channel has kind of turned into a knee replacement channel. But I still do some things that are not knee replacement things. So if you watch, I've done some music videos too. I don't know if you've watched any of those, but I've done covers of music.
Yeah.
My original goal in life, just like you were a fine arts guy, I was always thinking that I would either be a recording engineer or some type of musician. My brother is a full-time musician. He teaches piano. So some people have said it's kind of neat to see you standing playing your guitar, and then I've multi-tracked everything. So I'm using a 24-track recorder to record it. So listen to the videos for the audio things that I've recorded. That's something that's not knee related, but it's good to sometimes get away from that knee thing.
Yes.
So that's what I've been doing. And I hadn't picked up my guitars and stuff in over 8 years. When I started the school, it's basically when I stopped playing.
Wow.
And I've been playing since I was like 10 years old. So I'm 61 now. So yeah, so it gave me a way to, you know, because I'm stuck at home, I can't do anything. We're all stuck in the pandemic anyway. I said, I want to start pick up my guitar and start recording again.
Yeah.
So that's something I've been doing outside of just the knee stuff. But I am glad to have the knee people come to me because it's something that, you know, I've learned that it's something that's important to me now, of course, but I'm finding it helps others. So that's why I do it.
That is awesome. Well, what I'll do is we'll wrap it up here. I'm going to put your links in the description of this video, and I'll put them in the comments and I'll pin them so that anybody who wants to reach out to you, who wants to check out your channel, Russ is Right. I think it's just such a phenomenal resource, and it's a variety of things that you have going on in there. So I definitely think it's worthwhile. And, you know, one other thing, maybe if you don't go the route of teaching photography again online, teaching music, teaching guitar lessons. Like, again, there are so many people who had an interest. I played guitar. Well, I took lessons for like 10 years growing up as a kid. I can't play a single note today. But if I was sitting at home frustrated and bored and looking for something, I'd pick up the guitar again and I'd be looking for somebody who could teach me the basics. I know where I'd be going, you know? So there are just so many opportunities, and you have such a great disposition, and now you're building that audience. Food for thought, you know?
Well, let me say congratulations too, because I know you've passed your 5,000 mark now.
We did, and this is our celebration, bringing you.
I'm coming close to 1,000.
Celebration for passing 5,000.
Yeah,
and you're right around the corner from 1,000.
Yeah, I think I need another 120 or something like that. Then I'm at 1,000. So
I think after we post this and people hear your story, I think we'll bump you up over that number. So is there anything else that you want to share? What's the best way for people to find you? And like I said, I'll put the links in the description below.
Well, they could always find me directly on YouTube at Russ is Right. Okay. And I've recently also started telling people if you want to talk to me and you don't want to be public, because, you know, even on the comments, everyone reads that. I put an email address there for them to contact me, and some people have done it that way. And I started to do videos about other patients, and I've been asking other people, send me your information. If you don't want to be on YouTube yourself, your information helps others.
Yeah.
So tell me your story. Send me a photo of your knee. Don't send me your photo of your face. I don't even need to know who you are. But tell me your story. Show me your video or your photo of your knee, and I'll talk and tell them the story. And then as you're getting better at it, give me updates, and then I will update them. So I keep them anonymous. I just give them a patient number, like patient number 2, female patient number 2, 61 years old from Illinois. So that's all we'll know, but eventually they'll know your story. And then as you get better, as an encouragement to others. So not all of us can do a YouTube channel, I realize that, but all of us can benefit from hearing those stories of success and non-success too.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do in addition to my own videos. And hopefully, I try to do at least 3 videos a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that. So, you know, there's only so much I can talk about myself, but if they give me some info, I can talk for them. I could be their voice.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Russ, thank you so much for doing this interview with me and celebrating 5,000 subscribers. And so hang on just a second while I wrap this up. Guys, anybody who wants to reach out, who wants to subscribe to Russ's channel, you'll find the link. It'll take you straight to his channel in the description below or in the pinned comment. As always, like this video. If the content is helpful, go ahead and share it with somebody who can use it. Russ, stay right there.
Thank you.